Paging Michael and Colleen. Paging Michael and Colleen.
You're listening to Scrubs Off, Bottoms Up.
We'll see.
We're gonna restart.
We'll see. How do you start a first? 3, 2, 1. How the fuck do you start a first podcast?
We actually have no idea, but hi everyone, welcome to Scrubs Off,
Bottoms Up, baby.
Cheers to that. So Colleen and I.
Who are you?
Okay, fuck. We
No,
can't talk over each other.
that's good.
My name's Michael.
I'm Colleen.
29 years old, and you are as well.
Yeah.
Big
sure
3-0 this year, baby. Well, you turned the big 2-9 this year, and I'm turning the big 3-0. Therefore, I'm slightly older.
Wait, I thought you were younger than me.
No. I feel like we should know these things about each other
Thank
if we are
God.
doing podcasts
No, I don't
together.
know the deep down, I think.
But hi, mom and dad and sister.
You're the only people watching, I'm sure.
Yes, this might just be a passion project between the two of us. But in case anyone else is listening, welcome to Scrubs Off, Bottoms Up. This is a project that Colleen and I drunkenly decided to do and actually somehow followed through with it.
Yep.
With equipment and all. And here we are. Colleen, what was your first impression of me? Or I guess let's
talk about
know,
when we first met.
Yeah, let's talk about when we first met.
Do you remember when we first met?
I have a very distinct memory of meeting you for the first time.
Tell me.
So Colleen and I were
We've
both
never talked about this.
Colleen and I were both travel nurses at the same hospital. Will not say the name. Different shifts. She worked night shift, I worked day shift. You will never catch me working night shift. They did my years on that.
And you will never catch me working day shift.
And I had a patient who was borderline
Dead.
And I had sent them down for a stat. I think it was an abdominal CT. And I sent the patient with a tech. And I remember the patient came back at shift change.
Because we worked, all the nurses will understand, we worked telemetry. So it was like med-surg tele. So you didn't have to go down with them. You're allowed to go with a tech if you wanted. Like,
oh, yeah,
you didn't have
we met
to.
on that unit.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. So
I remember.
the aide comes back with the patient, and I look at the patient just to go back and get them in bed, being a good nurse at shift change, being like, you know what? I'm going to take care of the night shift nurse and have the patient in bed for him, hooked up to the monitor.
And that's a good man.
Whatever. And I'm looking at the patient, and they're not moving much, and I see that they're on a non-rebreather. And for those of you who don't know, like, a non-rebreather is a pretty high dose of oxygen.
It's like a safety mechanism.
Exactly.
Like you're not on a non-rebreather just chilling. Like that is what's going to get you to the next.
Shit is hitting the fan, and you will be intubated or on non-invasive ventilation here very shortly.
Yeah. No one should be on a regular floor on a non-rebreather because that means they are unwell.
It means we're in respiratory distress. So I look at this patient, and they don't have much color to them, and I notice they're in a non-rebreather, and then I notice blood. And I pull back the sheet that they had covered the patient with. It looked somewhat like a corpse at this point. And I was like, oh fuck, what happened to the patient at CT? And the aide just very casually goes, he started vomiting. It's like, okay, well that looks like frank blood. So I get the patient in bed, sit the patient straight up, and they start projectile vomiting blood. And I'm not talking like just a little like
I saw the room, babe. I saw the room.
Like full blown, the worst vomit you've ever seen. Spray all over.
It wasn't vomit, babe.
No, it was straight blood. The patient was full blown exploding.
Yeah.
From the inside out.
The floor had more blood than you and I put together have in our body. Like. When I walked in that room, it was a crime scene.
It was a crime scene to say the least. So of course I'm in utter shock at this point, covered in head to toe in somebody else's blood. Don't have any PPE or like protective equipment on. And I'm like, fuck, like this patient looks like they're about to code, but somehow they still have a pulse, but things are not looking good. Anyway, so I'm sitting there, I'm like drawing all the labs, calling for a rapid response to get more eyes in the room. Meanwhile, I'm waiting for the night shift nurse to get there, and I find out another traveler who was working on the unit who was later dishonorably discharged from the unit, I would say, or his contract, for being a shitty nurse. Sorry, I hate to say it. So I start screaming. I'm like, we're gonna call him Paul. Where the fuck is Paul? It's 8:30 at night. let me get the hell home because I'm gonna have to come here and take care of this patient tomorrow. And working as a traveler, you are very used to getting floated to different units. And one of the favorite units that loved to call me every single day was the surgical and medical ICU. I spent a lot of time down there, so I knew 90% sure I was going to be following this patient the next day in the ICU, probably on their deathbed. And then in walks the little angel.
It was my third night on. I had like 4 walkie-talkies. I came in stunning. I was excited. I'm like, this is gonna be the easiest night of my life. I know all of them. Family's great. The patients, they don't call me. They don't do anything. And I look at him and he's pale, but also red, like fuming mad. And then I look in the room and I'm like, oh, no.
Bad night.
I'm not taking that. I had the roommate. The roommate was chilling. And I'm like, Michael, you okay? He's like, no. And then starts going off.
It takes me a lot to get
and I've never seen, I mean, I work nights, he works days, so we see each other in passing. We like chit chat, little gap, like da 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 da. I knew he was from Alaska, but then when I saw him going off, I was like, I like this man. Because I think Paul came in late.
Very late.
Okay.
Very late, and asked me to like finish drawing labs.
Yes.
Take the patient down for another scan on the monitor. And I was like, dude, I've been here for 13 and a half hours at this point.
Paul?
Like, Paul, get the fuck out.
You can use the steps, Paul.
Exactly.
Go down.
So, I mean, long story short,
yeah. I don't know if anybody cares.
That is my first memory of you.
Mine of you, I think about this a lot actually, was I don't know how this conversation came up. It was morning. I was ready to go home, you know. I worked nights for 6 years now, and I was ready to go home, and he comes in frantic with his Red Bull in his back pocket.
Always. Oh
right?
my god, I forgot I used to do that.
Huge Red Bull in his back pocket, and I was
sugar-free.
Like, oh,
always.
That's the travel nurse. Like, he's so cool. Like, he's like a cool one. He always turns his patients. Like, he's like knows everything. Like, he's good. And you were like, I'm in such a bad mood. I was like, why?
Let me preface by saying I actually have no idea what story Colleen's about to tell.
Yeah,
so
you do. Yes, you do. You have to.
Okay, go on.
Just wait. I'm in such a bad mood. And I was like, oh my god, what happened? Like, I didn't really care at the time. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning. I just wanted to leave. I'm like, oh, what happened? God, my boyfriend came back from his trip. I'm like, okay, what trip?
Yeah.
And you were like, you were mad at him for something, and you were like, and then he had the nerve to pull out a Fendi bag, and I flopped myself on the bed, and I was like, what's the problem? Like, what are we talking about? And you were just going off for at least, like, I think I was there till like 8:30.
So this is a little bit of an iconic story, and there is a backstory to it because I'm like borderline crazy psychotic, but like not as bad as that may sound.
It sounded nuts.
And that's your first.
That was my first. You told me that you fish flopped on the bed, mad at him.
Yes.
And then he pulled out a Fendi bag, and you were pissed at him for pulling out the Fendi bag, because then you were like, shit, I can't be mad, like, that's really nice.
I mean, that's like an oxymoron, right? If I'm that mad and you're pulling out a Fendi bag, I'm like, damn, lesser of two evils. Oh, I'm still angry. Exactly, stick with the plot.
Yes.
Because I am fully committed. So just a little background, my boyfriend, he and I have been together for going on 4 years. His name is Michael as well. Colleen refers to him as?
My boyfriend, he's my king. Forever.
I don't know if I've ever met anyone who loves my boyfriend more than myself, and it is truly Colleen.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Michael and I have been together for a while. We can get into the semantics later, but Michael had went on a trip to London. Michael's an airline pilot for a major US airline.
He's a king.
And he had went on one of his boys' trips. Now, I kind of know how these boys' trips go. There's like a lot of drinking involved, and they like to go out until the wee hours of the morning and have fun. Anyway, Michael had gotten like, it was actually Josh, who's visiting right now at my apartment in New York. Josh was visiting New York when
our producer?
Our producer, yes. He was visiting New York, and it was Josh's 30th birthday. So this was, God, 3 years ago. And Josh was staying with us. Michael was in London hanging out with his friends, and Michael had wished Josh a happy birthday. Now, I don't know if you're like this, but I get a little overwhelmed on birthdays with the amount of messages, Facebook, all that stuff coming in. So Josh just doesn't respond until the next day just to like fully enjoy his birthday.
Okay, mind you, I sent Josh a text the other day and he didn't respond to me.
He is the world's worst texter.
Okay.
I am 100% about
It was a good TikTok.
Anyway, so Michael decided he had like been drinking a bit and he got pretty upset because he didn't know Josh super well at this point. He was staying in our house and he was like, well, why didn't your friend like thank me for wishing them a happy birthday?
I didn't know this backstory.
Yeah, so this is the backstory. So then Michael ends up getting drunk and I'm sure the people he's with love you all, gay pilots of the UK, but I'm sure there was like a little bit of poking and probing that was happening because Michael's like pissed at this point. And he's drinking.
He doesn't get...
It's 6 hours later, but Michael all of a sudden decides to like turn off his location. Michael and I have shared locations forever because I worked in Minneapolis for a short period of time in like a very sketchy area, so Michael wanted to know where I was and make sure I was safe. Whatever. Besides
That's your boyfriend, you can have his
exactly.
location.
Okay, I don't need to explain.
I have everyone's. I have Michael's
I have
location.
yours.
What?
So
Don't make me call him.
Michael ends up unfollowing my location and then like re-adding, unfollowing, like clearly like not
Just
in
being...
his right mind, just kind of being like, I maybe had a drink too many and whatever.
Just trying to poke the bear.
Exactly. Long story short, I end up deciding to not make a big deal out of it until he gets home. So I'm anticipating his arrival home.
Now I remember.
And I remember distinctly sitting on the couch in our old apartment, and he walks through the door, and you could probably feel it coming out of every pore of my body. And I was like, hi, nice to see you. And all of a sudden, the eyes roll backward. I'm seeing red, and I am fuming. I am pissed. When I say he can't even say hello, I start crab walking on the ceiling backwards and just tearing him a new one. One of my better moments, no, but I'm here for the story.
And this is why I fell in love with you. Continue.
And so Michael is the type, Michael's family's from Poland, he's first generation here, and Michael sometimes needs to think before speaking. He was in English as a second language ESL for the first 6 years of life. Very cute. So something I learned, and it took a while to adjust to in our relationship, was the fact that he needs to fully process before coming back and saying something, so he says it correctly. I wasn't having it that night. So I crab walk on the ceiling like The Exorcist, whatever movie, into the bedroom. And he starts unpacking, and I catapult ragdoll my body onto the bed. I am throwing a full-blown, I'm probably, 26 at this point, full-blown...
This was not.
This was 3 years ago.
Oh my God.
Full-blown temper tantrum. I am talking like probably worse than many of you have seen, and not something I'm so super embarrassed. No, it is something I'm extremely embarrassed of. Regardless, I'm rolling around on the bed, and I realize I roll over something hard, and I'm like, what is this hard thing in our bed? And I look under the covers and I see a Fendi bag, and I quickly put the covers down and I look at him, and he says my eyes were essentially like white at this point.
I believe that.
And he goes, I don't remember saying this, I think I like actually blacked out during this experience. He says that I looked at him and I said in a demonic voice, just because you bought me Fendi doesn't mean I'm not angry at you.
That's when we became friends. You told this story, and that's when we became friends.
In a nutshell, you're just as crazy as I am, and that's why we're here and why we get along.
No, this motherfucker, it was 8 o'clock in the morning, I was ready to go home cross-eyed, and he came and told me this story, and I was like, whoa. I just wiped ass for like 12 hours. Like, I needed that. Like, I really, like, that put me to sleep.
A little
bit. I like
so
got home and I got home and I was like, damn, I'm not that crazy. Like, I am going to bed. I slept like an angel that night.
I love that you had a good night's sleep that night.
Yeah, I did. No, thank you. Like, thank you so much.
I can't believe that's your first memory of me.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, Colleen and I like actually never worked a shift together, but realized we needed to hang out. So we had like...
When did we hang out the first time?
I think it's that time we tried to go to Oscar Wilde, and it was like Christmas time and impossible to get into.
Yeah.
So we like went out and had drinks, and then we didn't hang out for a very long time.
No, we ate at that place. It was very good. I don't know what we ate.
It was that
though.
Korean bar.
You kept telling me what it was. Okay. And then I have something to tell you.
Okay.
That you're never gonna believe.
Okay.
I've been holding this in.
Wait, for episode 1 of the podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm
Long story short, he's a foodie. He teaches me a lot about food because, like, I can't even speak sometimes. Like, I don't know. His family, like, his grandparents, like, made sushi or something. What?
Yeah, we're in the seafood industry.
Yeah, so, like, he's taught me, like, how to, like, eat
how to eat crab.
chopsticks.
Yeah, chopsticks, all that.
I'm on day shift.
Oh.
Starting June 22nd. On Friday, I got the call. I've been done. That's why I've been ignoring you all weekend. You keep calling me. I keep ignoring it because I got hammered Friday.
I am at a loss. You got the day shift position.
I got the day shift position.
For anyone who is unaware, Colleen being on night shift has been the biggest inconvenience to my life.
Yeah.
And also the fact, like, when you work night shift, your body is so fucked up on your off days that you can't hang out with people. So
no, I'm single. Because of now, like, I'm gonna get married now.
This podcast,
I am going to be married because I'm going on day shift.
Wait, this podcast has not happened for like months because we have not been able to figure out a day where we could both make this work.
Because I work night shift.
Shut the front door. I'm so happy. I
Yeah.
could cry.
I got the call and they like asked me to work that night, and I was like, no, sorry, I'm in Connecticut. And they were like, oh, look at your text. And I look at my text, I don't have anything. And they go, okay, I'll text you now, bye. And I was like,
weird.
What? And they just get, congratulations. I go, day shift? She goes, 6:22.
Shut the front. So our lives are about to be substantially so much better.
Yes. You know how hard it was for me not to text you immediately?
Wait, I'm so happy that you saved this moment for the pod, our first podcast.
Anybody who has never worked nights, which is very rare for a nurse to have never worked night shift, it takes everything out of you. There is nothing else.
It's soul sucking.
And I've been working night shift for 6 years. I've been waiting for this.
I am so happy for you, and I'm happy for myself as well.
I know. I'm more happy for you than happy for
you're
me.
gonna be less of a monster. And also,
I'm a monster. I am a disaster.
Which in like only
you understand
nurse
though, but you understand.
Will understand. Like, number one, I don't know if you've ever had this conversation with people in your life.
Oh.
Sorry to segue the conversation, but like, actually, maybe you haven't, because so Colleen's mom and sister are both nurses. Colleen's like 3rd generation nurse in the family, and unless you physically put in the work and are able to shadow a nurse a day in the life working a floor or in the ICU, you genuinely don't understand the physical, mental, and emotional strain it takes on your body.
My parents, luckily, like, my dad has just taken in the nurse perspective because my sister was a nurse, or is a nurse, I shouldn't say was.
Yeah.
My mom and sister are nurses. But he's like gone through us being like new nurses, which is brutal. Like, I used to give them a set of rules. When I come home from work, have breakfast for me. When I lived at home, breakfast needed to be, but don't talk to me. Like, we're not sitting having breakfast together. Breakfast,
no, I'm nourishing my body and going to bed.
I will leave my scrubs at the bottom of the stairs. If you have time, please do my laundry and wake me up at 5 o'clock. When I tell you, my parents were angels with that. Specifically my dad, like, my mom understood because she's a night shift girly. She worked night shift her whole life.
That's wild.
And she swears when she's done with the job she's at and like ready to retire, she's gonna work part-time night shift bedside.
That is a certain type of animal. I think I mentioned it earlier in this podcast, but I recently, for those of you who don't know, I recently left bedside nursing summer of last year. So I've been a nurse for over 5 years. Spent about 4 of those years traveling, where I met Colleen. And I love bedside nursing. My background's in critical care. It's one of my favorite types of nursing to do, and I find it so rewarding and humbling. Being something for me, I don't know if you feel the same, but being with somebody while they die is one of the most rewarding and humbling feelings.
Wait, that's like one of my, like, that's why I love nursing. It, like,
being able to help somebody peacefully transition from this life into whatever we go to next is truly a gift. Where that caveat comes for me, and the reason why I decided I needed to take a break from bedside nursing was, number one, COVID. I traveled through COVID, and as you did as well, I'm sure, essentially bagged bodies for 2 years. And they weren't just patients who were chronically ill. They were my coworkers. They were people my age and younger. And that is something that I don't think is talked about enough in nursing, is we went through all of this trauma and we're expected to move on. And not only just move on immediately, but move on with less resources, like wearing more hats. And it became really evident to me when I worked the strike. I was forced to work the strike on my travel contract here in New York City, when nurses were fighting for safe patient ratios. And at the end of the day, I had the realization that I could not work for a healthcare system that did not back its employees and treat their nurses fairly. And we're not asking for much, but safety for patients and the ability to perform your job, but also be a human being without the possibility of killing that patient because you're so crazy running around. It really started to affect not only my personal life, but my sleep. I mean, I was sleeping like 1 to 2 hours a night between shifts. And going back to what you said, when you're a new nurse, you're so afraid of killing somebody, I felt almost like I revisited those moments, because I feel like the more years of experience you have, the more you see that can go wrong.
Yeah.
And that's what would keep me up at night. It was
COVID kind of gave me like the opposite.
Okay.
It's like, you, as a new nurse, you're terrified. Like, you think if you step on your patient's big toe, like, they died the next day, you did that.
They throw a pot,
like,
it's your fault.
That's your fault. You stepped on their toe, and like, you did that. Or like, like the smallest things I remember being like, oh my God, did I tie the tourniquet too tight for too long and miss a vein? And I'm the reason that they had a PE. Yeah. Like, that is a natural thought. And
totally.
Any older nurse, I mean, I've been a nurse for 6 years, but any older nurse that I've talked to has said, like, if you're not that scared, there's a problem.
Of course.
They're scared of nurses who are not that scared. So when COVID happened, it was like the opposite, because you like, I'm gonna explain this really bad. So
bring it on.
Healthcare workers, like, bear with me. Hopefully someone has like thought this way, but I was like trying to keep my patients alive, and then COVID hit, and you were keeping people alive as much as you could when you knew there was no outcome. Like, you were seeing the same thing over and over again, and you're like watching. COVID was different because you were watching people gasp for air, which I had never seen before. It was like watching someone drowned and there was nothing you can do except tell them to lay on their belly. Like, that was essentially, I was in Boston at the time, so I know that every like healthcare system is a little different.
But overall, I mean, COVID
but
patients
overall, like,
presented the
I
exact
wanted
same,
to
right?
be like, I'd rather make you comfortable. Like,
100%.
like, that is my, I don't know, like, that's like the medium of being a nurse, is being able to like agree with medicine and also like keep the patient comfortable so that they can like have dignity when they pass,
100%.
or
I think that's,
or get better, or
I think that's also like the definition of a job for a nurse, is at the end of the day, you are a patient advocate.
Yeah.
And if you're not going into this career field to be a patient advocate, then choose a different career field.
Right, exactly.
Don't do it for the money, because it's not there.
Oh!
Don't do it because you think it's going to be easy. because
Or because the scrubs are cute.
yeah, and scrubs have not always been cute.
Figs was not there
Figs
when
was
I became a
not
nurse.
anything.
Figs, no.
Which it does kill me, like, there's a culture with new grad nurses who come in and they have on the brand new on shoes, the fig scrubs that are 2 sizes too small, because you know
Go
as a
up the
nurse,
calves.
when you wear the bigger scrubs, it's better because you are on your hands and knees, you are performing chest compressions, like you are going to split your scrubs.
Hell yeah. Are you kidding me?
100%.
If I sweat down my left thigh, it's on my scrubs.
100%.
If I'm wearing figs.
Yep.
Too tight.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah,
Anyway, that was like a totally
Sorry,
different tangent. But like,
sorry. Not to change.
there is this
the topic.
thing about like the new nurses who come in and wear it's the one-piece scrubs that are like a recent trend that I cannot stand. I might get backlash for this, but it is the romper scrubs that
You
a lot
wanna
of
know my
women
hot
are wearing.
take?
Take me.
If you are not on the helicopter.
Then you are
Helicopter? What are
like a flight nurse.
flight nurse? Do whatever the fuck you want. Put that one piece on, get on that helicopter,
Put
and
your helmet
save
on.
that baby.
100%. Have you ever seen them like when they bring in like a helicopter nurse or like a flight nurse comes in and they look bad out of hell? Like, what's that movie, Top Gun? And
That is Tom Cruise coming off the
they
helicopter.
demand respect. And
As they should.
That is a hard job.
Yes. They are prepared. They are ready.
But if you're not doing that, you cannot.
No, that is
Be
like
respected
a
in the hospital
1
system
in
and wear a
1
one-piece.
million.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, our flight nurses, comment.
Love, thank you.
Love you.
Love
you
you.
are a dream. Any nurse that says they don't want to be you is a liar. Because we all want to do that. That's sick.
Such a cool job.
Oh my god.
Amazing.
Cool but intense.
I think I would. So part of the reason why I wouldn't do critical care is I like to, for my own mental health and like to help me sleep at night, was being able to see patient outcomes. So I think, and that's why I never worked in the ED. I had to work in the ED on a couple of my assignments when I was traveling, and I had a really hard time with, especially like level 1 traumas that would come in, of not knowing what happened. Like
That's why I went into critical care.
Exactly. I want to know what happens, whether they get better, which
Or get worse. It is a
Most
closure.
of
There is, if you see the outcome, there is something in you, whether it's a good or bad outcome, that gives you like, that's the end.
Yep, 100%.
Rather than thinking about, like, I can probably tell you 20 patients, full names,
Probably their date of birth as well.
date of birth,
Yeah.
like their family story
100%.
that I think about like at least 3 times a year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I still have like my few COVID patients. I 100%
Oh,
remember.
don't
I
even.
like one of them, I remember their MRN. This is a medical record number for those of you who don't know. Like, that's on their hospital label. But because so I took care, long story short, I took care of 2 brothers who both died of COVID.
Oh.
And I took care of the one. We actually thought he was going to make it. He was going to be like our first success story coming out of the unit. We were going to downgrade him in care, send him to like the med surge COVID unit, like whatever. And he died like out of nowhere.
Well,
Classic
that's-
COVID. But I had him for so long that I just like knew his MRN.
Yeah.
And that sticks with me for sure.
Honestly, I only remember patients MRN when they don't speak English.
That does bring a specific challenge when you are
No, it
working
really
bedside
is,
and you
like,
don't speak their native language.
You have to bring the interpreter and you have to say the MR. Like,
And
you
I'll-
just scan the barcode when you give meds, when you don't even.
I mean, granted, you go through your patient identifiers if they're not intubated and sedated.
Okay. No,
Okay, let's-
you scan the MRN.
let's scan the MRN, okay.
Unless you're giving blood. Maybe
Yeah,
if it's
okay,
like
fine.
a new grad, then
Yes.
you talk over.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. But when you call the language line, you have to say their
You
MRN.
have to say the
and
MRN
it's
out loud. Yep.
and you can't talk to them. Mind you, if you have like Q1 hour neuro checks, you're saying the MRN every hour for 12 hours, babe.
You are, and let me tell you, the one time that you don't call that language line
They
and
stroked out.
They
No.
stroked out, or their pupil blows bad. And you
Yeah,
are like,
no.
oh man.
No, I had a patient. So full disclosure, I think I told you this. I'm not talking about any patients from my current job.
Okay.
Patients, coworkers, anything that's happened at the hospital that I'm at
It's all
currently.
previous stories.
Just to And I'm being genuine. Like, just to...
We don't want to lose our jobs.
No, and I don't want to make my coworkers uncomfortable. I don't want to make anybody feel weird. I'm not talking any stories, which is going to be really hard. But that's fine. That's why I call you in the morning after work.
The scrubs are off, bottoms are up, and the camera's off.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. That's why I call you in the morning. But this was years ago, and I was a new grad, so I like thought I was cool. Like, didn't want to use the language line. I was like, you know, using simple Spanish that I knew, and I thought
Hola.
Like people who that like
Respirone.
They would say yes.
Respira profundo.
They would say yes to everything. So I'm like, are you in the hospital? They're like, yes. Do you know who I am? Yes. And I'm like, oh yeah, they're with it.
Are you pregnant? Yes.
Yes. I'm like, it's, yeah, whatever. And for whatever reason, I was like, I didn't use it the first time. And then the second time I was like, oh, I feel really guilty. Like, let me use it.
Okay.
And I did. And he thought that I was a piano bar, like, bar girl.
Oh, he was like full-blown demented.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He didn't know his name. No, he was stroking.
Oh,
he
my
had a
gosh.
brain tumor, actually.
Okay.
And he was fully, like, midline shift.
Brute.
And I was like, do you know who I am? And he was like, yes. So then the hour later, I'm like, do you know who I am? He's like, yes. I'm like, who am I? He's like, you're the bar girl.
Oh.
Oh,
He
and
didn't
who are you?
survive, did he?
And he did.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Because you decided to use the
My second hour,
line.
yeah.
Okay,
I
great.
made a bad mistake, and then I made a good mistake. I
Never
made
again.
a good choice, and he's alive still. Well, this was like 5 years ago, so like he was alive. Like he made it out of the hospital. He had like surgery on his brain, whatever. But use your language line, nurses.
An event like that does dramatically change the trajectory for your career and how you do perform your assessments,
Yes.
which I'm sure you agree with. Because especially any nurse who's worked on a stroke floor, who's worked on a neuro floor, or worked in the ICU, has cut a corner once. And I do not believe if anyone is like, I've never cut a corner, I do everything
Any
by the books.
human.
Any human does, because at the end of the day, like I just said, we are expected to do so much more with so much less, and there are times where you're like, fuck it, I don't have time to call the language line because my other patient is hanging on by a thread, and I need to get this done, and if I don't get it done, I'm gonna be in trouble, or this neuro's gonna come by.
This one's gonna
after
die
my-
if I don't call
Exactly.
the language line.
So
and
it's-
it takes like at least 15 minutes just to start the language
Exactly.
line. Like
And
we gotta make that easier.
In a place like critical care, you are doing
Just who
1 hour
cares?
assessments on your patient, right? But
I mean, I wasn't.
I think all of us have had that experience where it's like, oh shit, thank God I caught that, but I might have cut a corner along the way.
It changes the way you look at what you do.
100%.
In my opinion, yeah.
And I think that it takes a lot to be able to admit something like that, because none of us want to admit when we have a fault, because at the end of the day...
Have you ever made
Yeah.
a med error?
Not a med error.
I have.
Okay. Listen, it happens. I was working a unit during COVID when we were scanning meds outside the room, and a nurse gave the incorrect patient insulin, and thankfully we figured it out and did like a glucose check, and it was
fixable,
undetectable. The patient was comatose, and yeah, we figured it out. But shit happens. We are humans.
That's why it blows my mind, and I don't know if you ever thought about this, but like when I have patients, well, this is more kind of night shift. I have patients that are like, yeah, like don't wake me, just like hang my antibiotic. I'm like, I'm 23 years old.
Yeah.
I just went out drinking the night before. I got off a plane from Vegas a few hours ago. I am tired.
And
you're trusting me to not my parents don't even trust me to get home at night. They pick me up from work. Like,
and also I'm responsible for your life.
Like, you are comfortable going to sleep, allowing me to just give you medication into your vein
without you knowing what it is.
Without you knowing what it is.
Terrifying.
It is the biggest responsibility. Like, it's a subconscious responsibility that I think we all take in that is not talked about a lot.
Absolutely.
Because you really do. If something happens to one of your patients while they are sleeping and you have done something, I don't care who you are. Like, I have had a patient that I didn't turn. for 4 hours one night.
Okay.
And then they stroked out and died the next day. And I'm like, if I turn them. And that's not...
It's impossible.
That's
to go down
not
that
reality.
rabbit hole. All of us
However,
nurses go down that rabbit hole.
However, it is a thought. Like, you
100%.
think about it. I had one of my managers allow me to go into a patient's... I caught like a heparin drip thing right before.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
And he had coded and passed the next day. And I was in her office bawling my eyes out.
Yeah.
And I thought that, like, I killed him. When I was the one who caught the mistake, but, like, that didn't matter. And she let me go into the chart with her and look at, like, his coags and know, like, okay.
We've all had those tragic or, like, traumatic experiences where you internalize and think it was your fault. And there have, like, definitely been shifts.
Even if you don't know it, even if you don't think about it too deep, like,
it comes
your subconscious,
Yeah.
I won't get too deep. I'm sorry, I'm yapping.
Anyway, nursing. I feel like we could talk about it for a year and a half.
Yeah, let's go on.
Let's move on.
Thailand.
So Colleen and I we talked about it. We had like went out for drinks and had food one day. We didn't really hang out for a while. That was before Christmas, like 2 years ago. And then all of a sudden we started like really bonding at shift change to the point where like I would stay late and she would stay late just to like gab and yip yap. And so finally we were like, we really need to like test this relationship outside of the hospital and outside of shift change. So Colleen
But again, I was on night shift, so like you have to have patience with me. Like
exactly. Which only another nurse truly will get that.
Right, and I didn't expect him to have any patience.
But I've been there. Like,
yeah, so you did.
Totally, 100%. Yeah. So Colleen and I began hanging out. She meets my boyfriend. I meet her parents. We just hit it off. And we're like, this...
We hung out like
if I was straight...
No, you're my husband.
It's a lavender
If anybody can be this and straight, just like come to me. Like I'm ready to get married. Like I'll be a good housewife.
She's great. Love Colleen.
I'm on day shift now.
She's on day shift. She'll be a little less crazy. She's tall, beautiful. She's boisterous with her chest. Is that your thing? I don't know.
Boisterous?
I'm like, was I in ESL for 6 years? My lord.
Okay, just call me a fucking rugby player, bitch.
Colleen is a good time.
I've got the shoulders of a fucking man.
Colleen is genuinely like one of my favorite people that's ever come into my life, and it's hard to meet adult friends later in life. Like it is, and I could talk so positively about her.
I feel the same way.
Yeah, Gabby, we're gonna say
no, we're not doing that.
Anyway, long story short,
I didn't think we would be friends.
Why?
Thailand, I was like,
here's the deal. Michael and I had planned to go to Thailand. He had invited his friend Nadia, who we love. Shout out Nadia, one of the greatest humans alive.
No, I don't.
An angel on earth, truly.
She changed my life.
Wow.
No, I'm being dead serious.
I love that.
I think about her at
really
least every other day.
And I get the text every other day saying I miss Nadia.
I miss Nadia
anyway,
so much.
Colleen had asked, she says, what are you doing was it March? What are you doing in March? And I was like, well, we're going to Thailand. And she goes, can I come? And I was like, sure. So Colleen comes out like 2 nights later to unlimited crab boil on the east side. I dragged her to it, whatever. And she wanted to meet Nadia, who was going. Yeah. That night, Colleen sat on our couch and booked a ticket to Thailand to come with us. And I was like, all right, she's legit.
Colleen is around.
One of my favorite qualities about you is the fact that you are a down girl.
If it's logical and it's something I want to do, I'm not going to do something. If you're like sitting there and you're like, let's go to Marquee. No.
Yeah, no.
I'm going home. I'm going to sleep.
Keep going.
I'm going home and I'm going to...
Did you just snort?
Wait, that's the second time I did that.
It's okay.
If you... I'm going home and I'm going to sleep. But if it's something that's actually like...
interesting to you?
And I like care about you and like...
that you can make it work.
Yeah, and like you guys are actually like...
You don't fake commit. And I've noticed that. Like Colleen, multiple times I've invited her to dinner and she says, I probably will make it, but there's a chance that I won't, and so I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
And then the day comes, she's like, I'm actually not going to make it, but I appreciate you're very black and white.
Yes.
I get that. I love that. Anyway, so Colleen sits here, books fucking ticket to Thailand, says, I don't care what we do, I'm just along for the ride.
Yeah.
We had a blast. That is
It
one of
was,
my
like-
favorite vacations I've ever been
Wait,
on.
no. I was thinking when I texted you, I think yesterday, and I was like, I need to go away with the 4 of you again because it was like the easiest yet most fun vacation I've ever been on in my life.
I mean, there was so
You
much-
died.
When I say I died, I truly thought I saw the other side and came back.
No, I thought you were lying.
Shout out to the Thai doctors, we think that were doctors who spoke no English, who came to the villa and quite literally resuscitated me. They put quote unquote injectable medications into my arm without telling me what they were, but we will get into this next episode about the whole Thailand excursion. I came back to life and they saved my life. Truly.
Who was the other woman that saved your life?
Oh my gosh. Angie.
I
think it was Angie.
If it was not for
Saucy
and
Angie, I wouldn't be here today. Truly. With that, I think this was a successful first episode.
Yeah, me too.
I think the most exciting part for me is knowing that you're on day shift, and I think for our listeners or viewers or whatever platform you're tuning in from, will know that they will have a more consistent podcast and a less bitchy co-host. With that
Honestly,
being said,
God bless America.
scrubs off.
Bottoms up, babe.
Cheers, babe. See you next week.